Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a totally mind-bending scientific scenario. What would actually happen if our planet just hit the brakes? We're going to take a hypothetical journey from our nice, stable 24-hour day straight into an unimaginable global apocalypse. And the crazy part? It's all based strictly on the laws of physics. So, would we simply experience one very long day? Let's dive right in by busting a super common myth. A lot of people think that if the Earth stops spinning, we just get some extra daylight hours to finish our chores, or maybe a really long, relaxing night to catch up on sleep. But actually, the scientific reality is way, way darker and a whole lot faster. Think about this for a second. You are currently hurtling eastward at 1,670 kilometers per hour. Right this very second, even though you can't feel it because everything around you is moving in perfect unison, the room you're sitting in, the screen you're looking at, you are moving at supersonic speeds just to keep up with the planet's rotation. That 1,670 kilometers per hour, that's about 1,037 miles per hour, and it's the rotational speed of Earth at the equator. This constant, invisible momentum we're all riding on is exactly what sets the stage for a total global catastrophe if we were to suddenly stop. It all comes down to inertia, the tendency of objects in motion to stay in motion. It's a basic law of physics, right? So, if the solid ground suddenly screeches to a halt, everything that isn't firmly bolted deep down into the bedrock is just going to keep moving eastward at that original blistering speed. Let's look at the instant stop. 1. Earth's crust stops instantly. 2. The atmosphere and oceans keep moving eastward. 3. Supersonic forces flatten everything on the surface. It's a massive, immediate chain reaction. The ground locks in place, but the air and water completely ignore the brakes. And the supersonic aftermath is absolutely terrifying. Winds exceed 1,600 kilometers per hour, vastly stronger than the most powerful hurricanes ever recorded in human history. Trees, cars, buildings, they all become deadly, high-speed projectiles. Entire forests would be flattened in a matter of minutes. We're talking about an atmosphere that would literally scour the surface of the planet completely clean. And water is heavy, right? Earth's oceans possess enormous momentum, meaning mega tsunamis hundreds of meters high would instantly surge across continents. These massive, apocalyptic walls of water would erase coastal cities in the absolute blink of an eye and send devastating floods hundreds of miles inland. Okay. Let's play along and imagine for a second that you somehow magically survived the supersonic winds and the crushing waves. As the initial chaos settles, the very shape of our planet begins to warp. Because without its spin, Earth loses a key physical property, centrifugal force. You know that outward push you feel when you're spinning fast on a merry-go-round? That force actually dictates the physical shape of our entire world. To put that in perspective, Earth has a 43-kilometer equatorial bulge. Thanks to 4.5 billion years of spinning, our planet is a bit wider around the middle. But without that outward centrifugal push, that massive 43-kilometer bulge of water and Earth would slowly vanish, making the planet much more spherical. This drastically rewrites world geography. On our old Earth, oceans bulge around the equator due to spin. But on the new Earth, the oceans migrate to the poles, leaving the equator as dry land. The water would rush north and south, creating massive new polar oceans, and leaving behind one giant, continuous supercontinent wrapped right around the Earth's middle. Welcome to the new timeline. 6 months of daylight, followed by 6 months of darkness. With the planet no longer spinning on its axis, but still making its long yearly orbit around the sun, the cozy 24-hour cycle we rely on is completely obliterated. Instead, you'd face the sun for half a year and then stare out into the freezing void for the other half. It creates a true world of fire and ice. The day side heats to well above 100 degrees Celsius, that's 212 Fahrenheit, boiling away oceans and sparking widespread wildfires. Meanwhile, the night side drops below negative 100 degrees Celsius, freezing oceans solid and burying the landscape in endless snow. Honestly, neither extreme is going to be easily supporting life. So what's our move? Well, only a narrow, twilight region between the two extremes might remain suitable for life. Humanity's absolute last hope would be a desperate, massive migration to this thin border zone. And even then, we'd probably have to build huge underground cities and strict climate-controlled habitats. because the constant storms generated where those hot and cold fronts clash would be legendary. And let's talk about the ecosystem collapse. Birds lose their solar navigation, plant photosynthesis halts, rainfall patterns change completely, global agriculture entirely fails. The biological toll would be absolutely devastating. Every plant and animal perfectly adapted to our 24-hour cycle would quickly face mass extinction. All right, let's all take a collective breath here. Let's take a step back from the apocalypse and look at the actual scientific reality of this scenario. Before you go prepping for the end of the world, we really need to clear up some major scientific misconceptions that always pop up with this specific thought experiment. Like, if Earth stopped rotating, would gravity disappear? Seriously, this is probably the most common myth out there. People think we'd all just float away into space. But to understand why that's totally false, we just need to look closely at what's actually keeping our feet glued to the ground in the first place. We have to separate the spin from the stuff. Earth's rotation creates the 24-hour day and that centrifugal force we talked about earlier. But Earth's mass, that creates the gravitational pull that keeps us on the ground. Gravity comes strictly from the immense weight of the planet itself. So no, you wouldn't just float away. Gravity would stay almost exactly the same as it is today. In fact, here's a fun fact for you. Without the outward push of centrifugal force trying to fling you off the planet, you would actually weigh about 0.3% more at the equator. You would literally feel a tiny bit heavier just standing there on the stationary ruins of this devastated world. Which brings us to the million-dollar question for anyone currently losing sleep over this explainer. Could a sudden stop actually happen in real life? The sheer amount of energy required to suddenly slam the brakes on a planet of this size is basically unimaginable, which leads us to a very comforting scientific conclusion. You can rest easy tonight. Science tells us that no known natural event, not even a massive asteroid impact, could instantly halt Earth's rotation. The physics of our solar system just do not allow for this kind of instant apocalyptic braking. It simply can't happen. But there is a fascinating little footnote here. 1.7 milliseconds. Our planet actually is technically slowing down right now. Thanks to the friction caused by the moon's gravitational pull on our oceans, Earth is decelerating over millions of years. But it's only adding about 1.7 milliseconds to our day every century. So we've got plenty of time. What this explainer really highlights is that the stable climate, the diverse ecosystems, and the vibrant life we enjoy are only possible because of our planet's relentless 4.5 billion year spin. We are entirely dependent on that invisible momentum carrying us through the cosmos. So, as we wrap up, I leave you with this thought to ponder. Knowing we are all hurtling eastward at supersonic speeds right now, safely anchored by gravity, doesn't a simple 24-hour day suddenly feel like a perfect, fragile miracle? Next time you watch the sunset on our spinning home, take a moment to appreciate the incredible physics keeping everything in motion. Thanks for joining me on this thought experiment, and keep learning.